First at 4, Hurricane Ian makes landfall again, pounding South Carolina with more rain, wind, and flooding. Paul.
And as Ian makes its way inland, the storm surge and wind threat diminishes, but the water threat is going to increase. We'll talk about that and the storm's impact on our weekend weather, all straight ahead.
Also, Russian backlash. We're tracking the new tensions as Vladimir Putin makes one of his most aggressive moves since the war in Ukraine began. All next, First at 4.
Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon, I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, Ian strikes again. The storm is still dangerous, but thankfully it is weaker than when it hit Florida. We're getting new images into our newsroom, so take a look at this. It's the latest. Ian made landfall a short time ago in the city of Georgetown. That's just north of Charleston. Now, even before it came ashore, we saw some flooding in Charleston. This time around, the storm was a Category 1, the weakest designation for a hurricane. Officials are still warning everyone to stay inside, don't drive anywhere, and of course, be very cautious. Right now, we'd like to take a live look over at Southport, North Carolina. This is what the conditions look like right now. The state's governor is hopeful things won't get as bad as the situation in South Carolina and obviously as we've seen in Florida. Now, the first effects of the storm were felt in the hours before the storm arrived. This is some video from the morning in Folly Beach, south of Charleston and right on the coast. Winds were already gusting up to 66 miles an hour. Residents in low-lying areas were warned to seek higher ground. Sandra Ali in the newsroom tracking the beginning of the cleanup in Florida. Sandra.
Karen, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, everyone. It is still so difficult to determine the true extent of the destruction in Florida. Rescue crews still trying to account for everyone. Power outages preventing a lot of communication, and in fact, some areas don't even have access to any assistance at all. It's really hard to absorb just how devastating the storm has been to Florida's Gulf Coast. Video like this here shows buildings torn apart. That wreckage is all stuff that used to belong to someone. Consider that as you look at this. And now it's just debris really tossed all over Fort Myers Beach. Florida's governor saying this afternoon that rescue crews have gone door to door at more than 3,000 homes in some of the worst hit spots. The death toll up to 14, but no one expects that to be the final number, of course, sadly. And some people are returning home to assess the damage, and they are also starting to clean up. We saw these folks here in Naples taking their first steps toward recovery. A firm that tracks losses from natural disasters says Ian may have already caused as much as $47 billion in losses. President Biden sending help to get power restored and also says that Florida will get the assistance it needs.
It's not just a crisis for Florida. This is an American crisis. We're all in this together, and I've spoken to Governor DeSantis on multiple occasions, as well as this morning, and as well as mayors and county officials, both Republican and Democrat, from the places most affected.
The president has said that he will visit Florida as soon as it's safe to do so. Of course, we're going to have much more to come on the situation in Florida as the situation develops when you join us for Local 4 News at 5. Karen, back to you.
All right, we'll check in at 5. Thanks, Sandra. Forewarned meteorologist Paul Gross now standing by to show us exactly where Ian is and how it's going to head up the East Coast. Paul.
Yeah, hey, Karen, I've tapped into both the Charleston, South Carolina and Wilmington, North Carolina radars here with Exact Track 40 radar, and you can see the center of the storm is right now just north of Myrtle Beach. And believe me, I've been down there for a golf vacation. This is one of the nation's golf meccas down here, and these golf courses are taking a pounding, not to mention everybody else. And you can see with, again, that counterclockwise circulation, you can see this is where the storm surge is, heading up to the North Carolina coastline here just south of Wilmington. So let's talk about where this thing's going. It's going to be heading inland, and as we always talk about, it starts to weaken. The wind weakens. But first of all, look at Maryland. Pounding rain tonight. The Spartans play a game there tomorrow. Now, fortunately, the heavy rain will move out, but the field is going to be soaked. And notice West Virginia here. This rain just won't stop here. And we're looking at rainfall amounts here in this area here that could be 3, 4, 5 inches of rain in mountainous terrain. So this is not done yet. We're talking about some significant flash flooding possible. I'll be back to talk about our weekend forecast in just a bit, Karen.
Finally, one sign other parts of Florida are returning to normal. Disney World reopened to visitors in Orlando today. Now, we're told the park was nowhere near capacity, but rides are open. Aerials show some damage to structures at Universal Studios, which does remain closed. Most of the cities seem to escape serious damage, but of course, call ahead if you've got a trip planned in the near future. All right, here at home, the Detroit Police Department is offering pay raises as it tries to prevent more officers from leaving. In the past 2 months, DPD lost 72 officers. 2/3 went to departments in the surrounding area. A new agreement with the union boosts starting pay from $43,000 to $53,000 a year. Officers with more than 4 years experience will go from $64,000 to $73,000. Detectives, sergeants, and lieutenants will see an average increase of $10,000 to $11,000 a year. The Oakland County Sheriff's Office is investigating a horrible accident involving a worker for an excavating company. We're told the victim is a young man in his 20s. Investigators say he was making repairs to a repaving machine when something went wrong. It happened in Commerce Township on Ladd Road near Maple. At last check, the worker is in very serious condition at this hour. Also have a Local 4 update on the repairs after a big water main break over in Fort Gratiot Township. The Great Lakes Water Authority says normal operations should return by October 5th. That is 53 days after the 120-inch transmission main first broke. About 130,000 people were under boil orders at one point, but service was restored using a workaround. The process of disinfecting and testing is complete. Now, GLEWA can start restoring water transmission. Customers who were affected originally may see some fluctuations in water pressure in the next few days. If that happens to you, do not be surprised. From Moscow to Ukraine and Washington to Detroit, today brings another pivotal moment in the Russian invasion of its neighbor. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has signed treaties to annex 4 regions of Ukraine that make up 15% of that country. Putin claims residents voted to become part of Russia. The U.S. calls it a land grab. NATO calls the move the most serious escalation since the war began in February. Now, that set off a chain reaction all around the world. The president of Ukraine is now asking for an accelerated procedure to become a member of NATO. Russia's concerns about NATO are one of the reasons Putin used to invade in the first place. Now, NATO says the annexation is illegal and illegitimate, but the Secretary General was non-committal on Ukraine's request to fast-track its entry into the alliance. Russia just vetoed a United Nations resolution that could have condemned the referendums that led to the annexation. The U.S. has sanctioned more than 1,000 Russian people and businesses in a new bid to pressure Russia economically. And Congress just approved a new funding bill with another $12 billion to support the Ukrainian military. And for anybody with ties to Ukraine, watching Putin take over parts of their country is heartbreaking. Tonight, a big musical performance will be infused with that sadness as Ukrainian Americans hear music from a homeland that's in even greater turmoil. Paula Tutman previews a performance sure to stir so many emotions.
You know, there are several parallel stories going on really simultaneously. So first of all, this is the Ukrainian Banduras Chorus of North America, and they're rehearsing for a concert this evening. In that group of musicians, a man who just returned from Ukraine, and he carries what he saw with him on stage. And then in the hallway, a young woman who came here to tell me her story. Her name is Darina Gubchenko, a 22-year-old Wayne State University student from the Luhansk territory in Ukraine. She watched on television as Vladimir Putin claimed her village as his own, and each stroke of his pen, a slicing knife cut to her soul.
It was never Russia and will never be. It's all hypocrisy and it's all fake. It's all just a part of a genocide that they're committing against my people, against Ukraine.
Today, she says she feels as though she's losing hope.
Of course, I have dreams that those territories would be liberated. It's going to be prospering once again. It's going to be better than it was, and I'll be able to see my family one day. But being realistic, it's hard to imagine that normal life will come back there anytime soon.
She is terrified for her family still in Luhansk, who she fears will be forced to fight against their own people and own independence. Inside the Berman Center for the Performing Arts in West Bloomfield, the sound of hope emerges from the auditorium. Zenon Tchaikovsky has just returned from 3 weeks of volunteering in Ukraine from near the front.
They are suffering a lot.
Ukraine has a long history of fighting to remain free. The music of the sacred instrument, the bandura, tells the story.
before the war, I was singing them and understanding them as lyrics. Now I understand them as a story, as a real story.
For Ukrainian Americans, keeping their culture alive, away from where it is being eradicated, all emotions are present. Paula Tutman, Local 4.
Oh, thank you, Paula. The one night only performance at the Berman Center for Performing Arts is tonight at 7:30.